let me formally invite and welcome all of you. Thank you for coming in middle of a working day. And this session is organized particularly because Sanjam requested me. Thanks, Sanjam. And somehow, we walk around talking about our areas of interest to the whole world, and it's always the home that you forget. And so, thank you, Sanjam, because I have been actually talking about this all over, and I hadn't come in and had this conversation with Vista. Really, really pleased to be doing this today. So with me, I have, let me quickly introduce the panelists to you. Let's start with Sanjam, who needs no introduction with you, but I would tell you what her role here with us would be today. So Sanjam is going to speak to us about what she sees documents as and the importance of documents with their business in particular, and thereby set a section of conversation rolling where we are hoping all of you will contribute. From CargoX, I have Mr. Peter Kern, who's the COO. Peter comes with a long maritime history. He's worked with Maersk in many parts of the world, also with several other large logistics companies, and he is today heading CargoX. And we have Viren, who is talking to us from a most beautiful location. I wonder if he'll be able to show it to us at some point. He's in a log hut in the mountains, and he has also spent 20 odd years in freight forwarding and logistics, and then moved over to technology, and he's the chief business officer at CargoX. And then of course there's me, who hopefully all of you know. Today I speak to you as Portol, where I'm CMO. And we as Portol have undertaken a relationship with CargoX as their representatives for the Indian subcontinent. We really liked what we saw about the platform, and personally I've spent the last couple of months deep diving into this area of digital documentation. I'm sure most of you know, I also am a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Shipbroking. Mm-hmm. I've also worked 25 odd years in shipping, and then taken a step over to technology. Very passionate about shipping, as most of you are. And luckily for me, also passionate about technology now. So we deep dove digital documentation because at Portol we've been trying to solve some industry issues with respect to moving more business away from paper, cash, and people to platform enabled. And this was one area where we kept stumbling up, because we kept running into areas where people said, no, but I need to submit this document, or no, but so and so thing has to be checked. And then the idea, the conversation rotated around, if I anyway have to go there to hand over this document, then what is the point of my doing ABC steps on a platform and having to go physically for D step, which is a very valid point. So that's what got us started on this journey. And after studying, there are about 6 players who are all authorized globally in the area of digital bills of lading and digital trade document transfer. There are, of course, many more, but these are the 6 that have indemnity cover. And when we studied all of them, what we liked as Portol about CargoX was the fact that they're very, very decentralized. They are the only public blockchain. So I've requested Peter today to tell all of us a little bit, at least layman's language, about blockchain as well before we get into the solution. And what we liked is the way that they approach this business, which is very easy to consume, very easy to try, and then one can mature and keep adding on more depth in the solution. So this is the reason why the 2 companies decided to work together, and I'm hoping that we hit a stride in India. From the Indian government perspective as well, the IPA and the government of India has, as you all know, been pushing digitalization. We are working now on the Vision 2030, as you all know as well, and we're contributing as Vista also. The focus area is on how to move people, processes, documents, and money onto a digital platform. So, with that in view, the IPA and the Government of India also have gone through the entire solution that we presented to them, as well as the other 5 that have the legal and indemnity cover. There has been a thrust area for this that has been decided. There have been letters written to the associations as well as to the RBI, asking the government and all Indian banks and all carriers to embrace digital documents. It hasn't yet reached an area of mandate because this is very much an area of private contracting. But the government is eagerly watching to see how the industry, who are the early adopters, whether from exporters, importers, logistics service providers, or banks, and how the industry adapts to this. So that's where we're at today. We completed a 30-day POC or trial stage. I think it was very successful considering that we were in the deepest part of the lockdown in India. We couldn't meet anybody. But purely on WebEx's, we were successful with about 50 demos that we did on WebEx with CargoX and Portal. We had a few premium lines getting onto the testing and POC bandwagon. We had a couple of Indian banks that, though they haven't yet done the POC, have declarations with BCBA, with FIO, and with FFAI. And particularly, I think with FIO, we were pleasantly surprised because a lot of the export orient units were asking very action oriented questions, as in what do I need to do, how do I start, and how do we get this off the ground. So that's where we're at. Full disclosure in terms of the digital documentation, the role of Portal, and how Portal and CargoX are working together on this. For the structure of this particular session, after my introduction, which is almost done, I will hand over to Peter. Peter will speak to you first a little bit about the global context and where digital documentation is. And I'm hoping, as I mentioned earlier, that he'll touch upon blockchain itself as a technology. And thereon, he will take us through a demonstration of CargoX. And wherein Peter, myself, and the legal counsel, Patrick, will be available for any questions that you may have. And we're really hoping for an intelligent and detailed conversation today, because I know all of you so well, and I know there are lots of lawyers here. I'm hoping we'll unearth some facets to this discussion that we may not have hit on in previous seminars. And after we finish this particular demo, we will request Sanjam to share with us her perspective from Sitara Shipping and on documents and how they are the lifeblood of trade. And what is it that she sees, how much of her time is occupied in one way or another with documents, either creating them or storing them or transferring them or exchanging them or checking for authenticity or using them in a claim, the multiple ways in which document plays a role in the life of a business. And with that, we're also going to hope in that session to hear some views from the audience. And after that, we will step into the actual blockchain, document transfer, electronic BL Q&A. So that's it from me. Thank you for your patient listening. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Mia, for a good introduction. Thanks, Sanjam, and the rest of the audience. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I look forward to the discussion later on. Now, CargoX is, has a clear vision, right? To create a complete paperless business environment, specifically in the international trade and in shipping, in the supply chain generally. We are all eager to expedite in this field, and since the founding of the company back in 2018, we have made great progress, and there is a high attention to digital development in the global supply chain. Now, we as an industry need to follow the standards that are and the trend that is happening in other industries, be it banking, air flight industry, where you have processes completely digital already. So I personally believe that it's important for our industry to actually catch up to be also able to retain the best and to attract the best talents, young talents coming into the labor market. Because let's admit it, the younger generation is very much used to run their private lives digitally, and they will of course expect from their business environment to offer a very similar experience to what they have in their private life. So it's up to us in the industry to close this gap and to make progress in terms of how do we manage our business environment more digitally, and by that more attractive to the younger generations. Of course, digitalization has got a completely different attention due to the COVID-19 outbreak, but it's not only because of the outbreak. We need to seriously look into how do we manage this. Now, digital documents have been around for years. We know them. Even you daily most likely use PDFs, which are digital documents. But there is technology that plays a big role here. So for me today, it's going to be talking a lot about technology. And blockchain is a technology that allows a clear ownership over a digital asset. Now, before blockchain, that was not really possible, because you made, let's say, a digital document in PDF, and after exchange of a couple of people in the chain, it got lost who's actually the creator and the source of that document. With blockchain, we can trace every document back to the source. And that is very important when we showcase the authenticity, originality, and the sole original document to either regulators, authorities, or to the participants in a specific business exchange. Blockchain is not such a new technology. It's been around for more than 10 years. But of course, every new technology takes time to develop. CargoX has, back in 2018, very close after we have founded the company, managed the first live blockchain-based bill of lading, and that was in July 2018. It was a live shipment from China to Europe, where all the documents pertaining that specific shipment were tracked through blockchain with the support of a smart contract. There was no kickbacks. The exchange of documents happened basically instantly. The documents were not traveling by courier post for 7 or 8 days, which is usually the case from Asia to Europe. Upon receiving the original digital documents, including the electronic bill of lading, into the possession of the release agent, the document was accomplished, and by that also cargo has been released. Since then, the platform has been growing in the number of accounts, and we have also made some technological steps to make the platform more general. So now we handle all sorts of supply chain documents and documents outside the supply chain industry, because the smart contract and the blockchain allows that we record each document on the blockchain, and then we follow and trace the movement of that document throughout the chain. And we also allow regulators to actually see and check whether the document is authentic. They go back to the source to see that it is completely unchanged, and by that they accept it as the original document. I have jumped into the CargoX immediately. Just if you wonder a little bit of myself, even though Mira has presented well, Peter, CEO of CargoX, but before I spent many years with the container carrier Maersk Line in different roles, be it regional route or country management. Spent some years with the global forwarder and VOCC. Spent some time with the container terminal operator. So I have this mix of forwarding carrier and container operator experience, and same goes for the team. Very experienced in their field of expertise, be it IT development, design, legal, business development. So we believe we have the right set of resources within the company to meet the needs of the market and to drive the digitization forward. If you would agree, I would basically just start sharing the content, and we can, based on looking at the presentation, also form questions for the Q&A part later on. Our colleague Patrick, the legal advisor, will also join. On that note, we don't believe there are real restrictions globally to use digital documents. And it goes back to the technology. Once we have the technology to actually prove the authenticity of the digital documents, then a globally accepted, basically, rule not to discriminate digital documents from physical or paper documents actually then plays a role. Yeah. But more on the legal part we can cover later. I would now more focus on the technical part. So this is CargoX. So we believe into building the digital trust using the blockchain technology and the smart contract. We have developed a tool which is publicly available, and that is a CargoX platform. It's a very simple login and account creation process, free of charge for you. And you can create your own account on the platform, and you can start connecting with companies you want to exchange digital documents, and then you are ready to become a efficient user of digital documents. On this screen, I'm logged in as a freight forwarder or in NVOCC. It could also be a carrier, it doesn't really matter, the one that has the right to issue a document of title, a bill of lading. The process of creating a smart bill of lading is quite simple. We did not go in this stage of the development of our platform into shipping instructions. So once the shipping instructions have been confirmed and the bill of lading is ready to be printed on the piece of paper, it is easier then to upload this already prepared digital document into our platform, and by that the document gets a blockchain dimension because we will record it on the smart contract. It's a very simple step. We compose a new digital envelope. In this envelope, this specific NVOCC called Happy Sun Logistics will upload already confirmed bill of lading upon shipping instructions, and will upload from their backend system a house bill of lading. It could be a master bill of lading, but just for the purpose of presentation, we will use today a house bill of lading. With every document, there is a document number. If, let's say, you would connect a complete interface with our platform, which is fully API supported, all these steps would basically be automatic because the machine would be reading from your backend system. So we will select a document type. It's a house bill of lading. We will put a number, and of course, with each bill of lading, that needs to be a trust who's actually the released agent. So the Happy Sun Logistics has a authorized third-party agent somewhere at the destination. It's going to be called Eurosun Logistics, and the Eurosun Logistics has the sole right to actually release the cargo once the bill of lading is presented, and it's going to be surrendered to the Eurosun Logistics. They will accomplish the document. There is a functionality that allows tagging each document for easier archiving and search archive later on. So I will today use a couple. I will say port of loading is with an I, and maybe another, maybe vessel name. And for the purpose of today, that is going to be enough tags. And equivalent to today, when you put your paper documents into an envelope and you seal the envelope, you need to write a recipient's address. Whom are you sending the documents to? I will send as an end UCC documents to my shipper, to the exporting company. I will now start the process of sealing this digital envelope pertaining one document, one bill of lading. And the document has now been sealed, and I initiate a blockchain transfer. What happened behind the scenes right now, we calculated a mathematical code of this document, a hash or a fingerprint of this document, and we related it to the blockchain key. I initiate the transfer. The system asks me, gives me a good sum up. You are about to transfer one digital envelope containing one document, and this is the document, to the receiver of this document. I will sign this transaction using my private key. Now, this is very important part of the blockchain because each user logging in and creating their account on our platform is creating their own private key, which is equivalent to a hand signature. And this key is actually an endorsement or the signature of this transaction on each document. I initiate the transfer. System once again asks me whether I'm sure, because this is the irrevocable move. It's going to be written on the blockchain and nobody can delete this transaction, not even us as CargoX. And the transfer of ownership has started. And now me as the NVOCC, I'm not any longer the owner of this bill of lading. The ownership has passed directly peer-to-peer to the exporting company, in our case called Toy Factory. That's also important part of our platform. CargoX does not, in a split of a second, hold the ownership of this document. We facilitate a peer-to-peer exchange from your account to the account of the recipient. We cannot access those documents, we cannot see the documents, we cannot check the documents. We also use a completely decentralized storage, so CargoX cannot get to the possession of the documents that reside on that storage. So now I'm going to move to my next step. When I'm logged in as a exporting company, right here in the up right corner, it's called Toy Factory. Now, since now I'm the owner of this bill of lading, I can decide what to do with it, whether I will send it to the bank to process the letter of credit, or if it's a direct payment with my buyer overseas, I will send the original bill of lading to my buyer once he fulfills the obligation of paying the cargo. Let's say that that has really happened, and we will send this ownership of the bill of lading to my buyer overseas. It's a very simple process. We click on forward button and we create a new digital envelope. Now, since my buyer overseas would most likely need some other documents to customs clear the cargo, to also have consolidated all the documents pertaining that specific shipment, we will add some supporting documents that will travel along with the bill of lading to the consignee. So let's say I will use the cargo invoice, I will use the warranty letter, let's say for the purpose of today, that should be sufficient, and I will add those two documents into my digital envelope. I will just make note which documents I have added.
Is it because of them having yeah, time.
Ruchika, you're audible. Please mute yourself.
And I will also add the warranty letter. I will not add any other supporting notes to it. And now I have the envelope basically ready. Again, I need to write the recipient's name. So my buyer in overseas is a company called Toy Store, a retailer of toys, and I'm basically now ready to seal this digital envelope. and to transfer the ownership of those documents over the blockchain to my buyer at Europe. Again, I will sign with my private key, endorse the documents, and sign the transaction on the smart contract. And by this step, I'm no longer the owner of this digital document. Now the owner is my buyer at destination or at overseas. Yeah. If I now log in as a buyer overseas, I can see that I have received this digital document, this digital envelope containing a bill of lading, and I have the invoice and the warranty letter along. So me as the buyer, let's say that some time has passed, the vessel has been sailing, now receive a call from the release agent saying the vessel has arrived, you need to present the original bill of lading in order to claim the cargo. And again, that's a very simple step. As we have seen before, we would simply forward the document towards the release agent as a surrendering of the bill of lading. Since, let's say, the release agent does not really need the warranty letter, maybe they need invoice because we would ask them to also import customs clear for us. They would then receive these two documents. One is the bill of lading for the release, and the second is the invoice to also perform the import customs clearance. So I will need to select the release agent. We can see that already at the first step as the NVOCC, we have marked Eurosun Logistics as the sole authority to actually release the cargo. So I'm sending now this document to the release agent. I can also write here some optional note, like is customs clear. And maybe a phone number of the driver. We're gonna seal the document. And transfer the ownership of this document to the release agent. Blockchain is doing their part again, and now the ownership of this bill of lading will come to the possession of the release agent. Now, what's important to basically understand is that every move that we have done on this case is recorded on the blockchain. Even if as now I'm logged in as the release agent at the port of destination. So the last step in this quite simple exchange of the documents, we did not put banks in between, we did not put the traders in between, even though the platform fully supports that as well. There can be multiple parties that today exchanged a paper bill of lading as a proof of ownership as a document of title. Every step is mimicked within our platform. If I click now on the invoice, right, I can showcase that we have recorded this simple document on the blockchain. We know exactly who has uploaded and created this document. It was the exporting company called Toy Factory, and it's currently the original document is currently with Eurosun Logistics. We have also traced every movement of this document over the blockchain. Who has created it, when, at what time it has passed ownership from one company to another, and who's currently in a possession of this digital original. Even more important, that is with the bill of lading. If we click on it, we see exactly who has created it, who is the current owner of this sole digital original, and who has created actions on it. We see that the ownership of this digital document has changed ownership on this date from these two companies, from Eurosun Logistics to Toy Factory. Toy Factory has sent the ownership of this digital asset to the company called Toy Store, and then the company called Toy Store has shifted the ownership of this document towards the Eurosun Logistics, who's also the release agent. Now on the bottom you can see there is an extra action available for the release agent, and that is release of the cargo. If everything is fine, that the consignee has settled any FOB charges or whatever to the release agent will now start the process of releasing the cargo. So it's again an action recorded on the blockchain. They click yes, we sign it and release it. And by this action, the cargo has been released and the consignee can now pick up the cargo at the port of destination. I would also like to show you a little bit of other functionalities of the platform. You create within the platform your own ecosystem. The companies that you want to exchange digital documents, you will not in this contact field see all the companies that are registered on the platform. On the contrary, you will only see your own private network that you have built within the platform. You could see here that this company specific is connected to the sea carrier, to the insurance company called ABC Insurance, to the bank, to the customs authority at destination to also exchange the import customs declaration, or with the sea carrier to exchange the delivery order. So it's a very broad and flexible platform in which you can communicate to various stakeholders, could be regulators, could be the port, could be the carrier, could be the freight forwarder, the insurance company, the surveying company. The platform also allows you to create a company account, and then you start adding users, your employees, into the platform, within your account. Each one of them will generate a private key for which we trace the sign of each transaction, and you can also give different roles to these employees, right? They can be either administrators, they have all the rights, or you can, within the platform, limit their rights to either just process the document, but they don't have the right to send it forward, to actually trigger the transaction, which is equivalent today when you might have only, if you are a NVOCC or a carrier, you might have only a handful of people actually authorized to sign the document of title. With this, I've come to the end of today's quick demo. I hope I was able to present how the platform works and to explain more about blockchain as a technology that allows a clear ownership over digital asset as an undisputed proof of authenticity of each document, and how much easier it is to actually use digital documents in the international trade. Last but not least, these documents are private documents. They are not public documents. The regulators are not affecting the structure of your private documents, even that is a bill of lading. So when all the parties in the exchange of a business agree that a specific digital original document is the sole document that is driving a specific business activity, that becomes the real, only and sole valid document for the business exchange. With that, I open the I invite Mira to guide us through the next steps of today's webinar.
Thanks so much, Peter. So unfortunately, Peter and Darren, we appear to be having several connectivity issues today. So Ruchika and I have been fielding, people are getting dropped from the call and coming back, and all of that, a little bit of drama has been there behind the scenes. Our questions in the Q&A. Sushmita, thank you. Yaka's joined us as well. Viren and Yaka, then maybe Viren, could you tell us from a freight forwarder perspective on how much time, energy, resources are spent on the various aspects related to documents, and is this an idea whose time has come? Could you just share your personal and professional opinions, please? Then we'll go into the Q&A. Thank you, Viren.
Yeah, sure, no problem. So, especially when documents are late, you have issues. So, this is the first thing you can eliminate with our technology, of course. If you lose the document, you have even more issues. So, this is also something what you can eliminate with blockchain technology and technology CargoX presents. So, a lot of time is actually spent of processing documents, creating documents, issuing documents to align with the partner if you want to have documents issued in a right way. So it is time-consuming process, especially when you need to send them over to someone. You have in big corporations I've been working on previously. We had some administrators. They were just handling incoming and outgoing post, and that was something people were doing the whole day. So a lot of work and actually a lot of time is taken by handling only the documents, not even reading them. So all those steps you can avoid with the available technology, and that is the blockchain and the platform we have been developing for past 2 years. So not only that we can improve the process, we can automate a lot of things, but you can also gain some savings on precious time, and you can assign some, I would say, more profitable tasks to your staff. So you can train them in customer service or to work something what brings a value to your customers. Handling documents, paper documents especially, it's not bringing a lot of value to your business. So this is something what everybody has to do, but nobody likes to do. So I think with solution like CargoX, actually you are moving fast forward to 21st century and even beyond, and this is something what people can do just with few clicks of the mouse and can be done very easily without any stress, and basically you can avoid this scenarios when you're late with the documentations, because you can make instant transfer of digital original documents on CargoX. So I think it is essential part of supply chain to handle documents on time, properly, and I would say also in transparent way, because sometimes you have to rely only on what your partner is saying to you, that documents have been sent on time, and there is nothing you can actually, there is no way for you how you can check it. And with CargoX, all those things are actually resolved, and you can have everything clear, and you can have everything transparent and secure with just within the distance of couple of click of the mouse. So I think we can bring a value to any business, not only in logistics and supply chain, but also when it comes to issuing of original documents on governmental bodies, and this is something what we are also working on. So it's suitable for many industries. So we started with the transport and logistics sector, which is, I would say, something what we know the best. This is our roots are there. But now platform is developing in a way that we can support any other sector. So I think when you realize all this, and you can create an ecosystem around this document exchange, it brings even more value to you and your partners. So basically that was the idea of CargoX, to create an ecosystem of all the stakeholders and to provide to business sector a solution for that I would say to that pain. So that is my view of CargoX and document handling.
Thank you, Viren. Ruchika, are you here? Could you let us know if the participants, any of them, have hands up or are able to speak? I'm still getting messages on the group that some people are not able to hear correctly. They have requested a recording of the meeting. Very unfortunate, a lot of them wanted to participate. Ruchika?
So there's some network connectivity issue. That's what I've been speaking with Sanjay ma'am as well. Her internet connectivity is a little poor. That's the issue with quite a few people. So
Yeah.
that's the reason. But we will be sharing we'll be recording the event.
Right. So Priya has just joined in. Priya, really request you to speak on behalf of some of the others who are not able to join in terms of role of documents in the business, and we're almost where Patrick would join, who's the legal counsel. So you could also follow up with the legal aspect, please. And after that, we'll go seamlessly into the Q&A. Sushmita has given us a couple of questions. We'll take those as well. Priya, if you can hear me, do speak.
The audios have been shown. If you could try connecting with your speakerphones and your audio connection. Miss Dhanuja is connected, and so is Miss Mrinal.
Mrinal, if you are there, love to hear from you. Tanuja says still muted. Priya says trying to get it working.
Meera, can you hear me now? I think it's unmuted.
Fantastic. Please.
Okay. Basically, I would like to know actually how does the blockchain works, because we saw how the documents are being transferred now, and there are two questions. One, how does the blockchain works, and legally is it been accepted by the customs now? It is still free.
Okay. Now I can understand what all of you said about the audio being poor. The audio is poor coming in as well. So sorry, I'm sure the recording will be useful for you later. Yeah, Peter, over to you.
Peter, you're muted.
I'm sorry about it, I was muted. I think the session is not long enough to actually go deep dive into the blockchain as such. Now the blockchain, maybe Yaka, my colleague, can explain more about technology itself. But when it comes to the legal adoption of digital records, which are written on the blockchain using a smart contract, there is legal action on it. I'm sharing the screen now. You can see that if nothing else, I mean, this is happening now globally. I'm just showing you one case from China, and the Chinese Supreme Court has already back in 2018 ruled that the evidence authenticated with blockchain technology can be presented in the legal dispute. So that means that the court is recognizing a blockchain transaction undersigned with a private key as a handwritten signature, right? So that gives you the power to actually have the peace of mind that this is basically recognized by the regulators. I think that today's session should not be about each specific country in the world that has or not yet completely dismantled any discrimination of digital documents versus paper documents. Most of it has, and also the International Chamber of Commerce is heavily driving this to have equal standards for digital and physical documents. These are all private documents we're talking about in the supply chain and in maritime industry, not regulated by the regulators. So we have the power actually to claim that the documents as we present them through the blockchain are indeed the sole original documents, and usually the regulators ask for original documents, and well, this is the original document and it's a private document. This is how we see it, and we have not stumbled upon any real pushback. We have done proof of concepts to countries for which they were known for years that they require a blue ink signed and stamped document. They are now actually accepting the documents through our platform, even the regulators like customs authorities, to then process with the import clearance. So yeah, this is evolving, and it's happening, and this is definitely the future. We will just need to jump on the train and be part of this progress.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe if needed, I can add a few words about the blockchain itself. So the blockchain is it's a complete ledger of all transactions. So you can imagine it as a database, but it is a very special database because new transaction can be added to it, but the history cannot be changed or deleted. And one other property, CargoX is using the public open blockchain, the Ethereum, which is decentralized, and it is completely spread through tens of thousands of computers worldwide. This means that there is no single company or a single country in being authority over this blockchain, which means that nobody can change this data, even if forced to or colluded by some other power. And this makes it perfect for the global supply chain, for the global trade, where all the countries worldwide needs to exchange some information, regardless of their current situation, political relations, trade wars, and so on. So that's a very important feature. So blockchain, the public blockchain is immutable. It's accessible worldwide. If you have an internet connection, you can access public blockchain, and that's it.
Thanks, Yaka. So for people who are completely non-tech savvy, and I could see a few messages from friends in the group, so let me give you the actual blockchain for dummies version, which I like. So going back to the old days when you found a treasure map and 5 friends found it, and you decided that the treasure belonged to all of you, and carry it away at that moment. There needed to be some secure way to ensure that nobody would rob you of that treasure, and the ownership was to be shared between 3 of you or 5 of you. So what did we do? And we've read this over and over in storybooks, where you would simply tear the map into 5 pieces and give each person one piece. So by the simple fact that you have broken up that one document into multiple pieces and given custody to different people, you have ensured in that one simple act that no one person can get access. All 5 people need to get together, or those 5 pieces of the map need to be assembled together, and then you get the treasure. So it's one important aspect, particularly of the public Ethereum blockchain, is every data, every document, every transaction that you're doing on it is then getting fragmented and stored in, I'm told by Viren and Yaka, as many as 20,000 servers around the world. So no one party owns it. It's not owned by a particular line or a group of lines or a particular company. For example, when we work with the government of India or governments anywhere in the world, this aspect of neutrality is very important to them when they decide to back something, because the data or database concept and ownership of database concept doesn't have to be pondered over. So that little bit. Thanks, Sanjam, for coming back. We'll like to hear from you for 5 minutes, and we'll go straight into the Q&A after that. Thank you, Sanjam.
So sorry, Meera. I'm so sorry, Meera. Sorry, everybody. I had really bad connectivity and I was just trying very desperately to come back on. I just wanted to make a few quick points because I know that everybody is keen to ask a lot of questions. So my company, my father's company, was founded in 1981, and we were ship owners and owning barges, and now we're into container operations. Documentation has been at the heart of the business. So the first day I joined, this is what my father told me. He said documentation is the heart of the shipping business, and if you can, get a hold on that, then you've really mastered most of what the work is all about. We all know that preparing documents manually, there is a lot of room for errors. So they have to be somebody prepares them, somebody checks them. And there is also one thing I'd like to focus upon is a lot of emphasis, which we find there's a lot of attempt to defraud a lot of times, or to, make changes on the bill of lading. Just as recent as about a month ago, we had issued a bill of lading, and we had, the consignee, attempting to add some clauses on it, or to, fraudulently add something to the bill of lading. And I think this blockchain would really help to minimize the risk of fraud. The second thing that I think we all know, that even the documents take so much time in transit. There's a lot of risk of loss where people lose, the bill of lading. The courier company loses the bill of lading altogether. And then that leads to a loss of time for the shipper. He has to come back and make a new set of documents. And then he typically comes back to us as an NVOCC asking for additional free time. And that means loss of income for us. It's a loss of time for him. So with an electronic bill of lading, we'd be eliminating the risk of loss in transit, wastage of time, loss of revenue to us as an NVOCC. And I think huge cost savings. I think when IATA has already introduced the e-way bill, and they say 68% of people are using it, and it's been a huge savings. So I think we really are eagerly looking forward to, us, the entire industry embracing, blockchain, and especially the EBL, because I think it would really help to eliminate risk, cost, and a lot of time. So that's it for me, Meera. Thank you.
So much, Sanjam. You really summed it up. And I could see all the colleagues at CargoX smiling because you said all the keywords that where we add value. So before we get into the Q&A, I know Peter covered it, but particularly from the Indian context, we are very, very sensitive to price. And we want whatever we use to carry benefit for every rupee that we spend, particularly in these times. So let me share with you from a neutral perspective why I feel this particular platform delivers really smart value for money. So let's look at it this way. Today, when a carrier releases a BL, we pay a documentation fee to the carrier. This fee recompenses the carrier for a set of things. A is the cost of the software with which they create the bill of lading, and of course the manpower involved in creating that, from shipping instruction to BL. And B is the cost of the stationery, the document that they have to get in place and with the right TNCs, etc. And E is the cost of, and that's a document set with 3 originals today. Then is the cost of actually the risk or the liability with respect to printing these BLs, permitting remote printing of the BLs, the software involved with remote printing of the BLs, and the controls that have to be in place. And lastly is that little bit where a documentation counter is required. People need to be able to come in, they need to be able to sit, and all of this, right? So if we do take this leap, and it's high time we take this leap, you can look at the costs that are involved up to what I've said now. And then you can consider that once the carrier dispenses the BL and charges the documentation fee, the carrier today lets go of all responsibility and all costs with respect to that document as it then travels multiple hops, it first goes to the shipper where maybe a motorbike or a car by somebody's come to pick it up. Then from the shipper adds more documents, it goes to the bank, normally via a courier, and a good courier because it's an important document, maybe with a small insurance on that document. Then from the bank, it needs to go to the bank the other end, also by an international courier, also with insurance. And then from that bank, it goes to the importer, and from the importer to his customs broker or his freight forwarder, and then finally to the carrier the other end, and a delivery order is issued, and only then does that document rest. With a platform like this, what you would have noticed when Peter demonstrated it to you is, after the carrier releases it on the platform, for which there is a payment. The payment is $15 US, and it's a flat fee and it's a transaction payment. So there is absolutely no software fee, there's absolutely no installation fee, there's absolutely no training and AMC and all of that. And there's also no requirement for any long-term contract. You can just go and try one bite and see your experience, and then slowly up the number of transactions you do. So after the carrier pays that $15, on the same envelope, all the other players we talk about will execute. So the cost to everybody else on the chain is zero, eliminated. The cost to the banks, the cost to the shippers, the cost to the forwarders, and so on, right up till the other end when the carrier again releases. So cost to carrier has also come down because the documentation counter at the other end and the validations at the other end could be reduced. So that really is the power that's unlocked. Now the carriers have a choice. They can either pass on this entire value and say, look, guess what? We're actually participating in cost and liability of the document till the other end. Fraud, as you mentioned. So I'm actually protecting even my shipper from fraud by ensuring it stays on a, blockchain platform till the end. Or the carrier could start adding some value benefit across this and build it into their value proposition and continue to charge. So it's flexible, it's very cheap considering what costs are unlocked. Furthermore, this is only for the negotiable bill of lading. All other documents are a much smaller charge, it's $3. So $3 considering what it costs today to move something across the world. And they also are, I think, giving you a 10-year repository. So think of the cost of storage of these documents. And at any point in time, if somebody needed to download a copy, if they were authorized to download, they can. And it would come in with a copy watermark. So this is a little bit about the business model and how we believe that it adds a lot of value, particularly in these times. With that, I'm opening the floor for questions. Okay, the first question from Sushmita. She says, in the Indian context, how receptive are banks to the blockchain concept? As I understand, they are rather concerned about security matters. Patrick and Peter, could I request the two of you to respond, please?
I'll just take it from a broader perspective. It's same as for all the participants in the chain is understanding the technology, right? And we are now talking to a number of banks, and it's presenting the technology and building the trust into the technology. Now, when it comes to India specifically, we have partnered with a consortium of strong international banks. There are 9 within the consortium, but with their partnering banks, they constitute up to, I think, 50 plus international banks. And they are all supporting of the project going digital when it comes to receiving, processing the bill of lading, electronic bill of lading, and electronic letter of credit. So the audience is growing, and we are also talking to 3 very strong India-based banks, and they are also giving us support to continue with the project. I think if you have something to add in terms of adoption.
Particularly, the lady's question mentions, are banks concerned about security on blockchain? So would you respond to that, please?
I don't think at all. blockchain is the technology that actually is here to provide extra reassurance of the security element, right? Because it's completely immutable environment. We have a set of API protocols that allows a clear connectivity into any banking sector. Of course, the question is very good in terms of, most likely you know how strict the banks are in terms of security and specifically IT security. But for the first initial phases of testing the platform, which is also accessible via any web browser, we are communicating with the banks normally to start engaging with the pilot shipments. So far there was no real pushback from any of the banks saying, no, we will definitely not consider blockchain. They are all considering blockchain, but of course it's a work in progress.
Maybe a few words from me. You hear me?
Patrick, we can hear you. Please do. So,
okay. Now, with the LC, the banks are still receiving the paper document, but the payment, the money, is actually transferred in an electronic way. So the only step that they have to do is that they accept the electronic document, which is on blockchain, which is actually, I don't think I'm wrong if I say that it's more safe than the money that we are having on bank in sense of IT, in few words.
Thanks, Patrick. I think the next question is also directed towards you. That says, is there a regulatory framework, and I'm guessing this is in the global context, to monitor, manage, and guide users of blockchain?
No, there is not. The only standard at the time being is the standard of P&I, International Group of P&I Clubs, which are covering the liability of shipping lines and carriers, also NVOCCs. So this is the only standard. There are only 6 companies in the world that have achieved this standard. CargoX is one of them. And by having their acknowledgement that our system is working well, it was, I have to say, really hard to get it. We were working on it more than 1 year. And that is actually the acknowledgement, that is the recognition, in a sense that P&I clubs will pay eventual insurance in case of damages. So if you don't have this approval from P&I clubs, from International Group of P&I clubs, then you will not get so insurance for the liability. That is their position, and this is actually what I can say the only standard for the time being in shipping industry.
Thanks, Patrick. Peter, would you like to add to that? Okay. Yeah, would you like to add to that? Did you say no?
I think Patrick has cleared it now. There's no real standard about the users of the blockchain. Blockchain is just a technology, as it was internet when it came out 20 plus years ago, and people are wondering, what do I do with internet? I mean, I can read my paper when I drink my coffee in a paper format. What do I need to have news on the internet, right? So blockchain is just a technology, same as internet was introduced 20 plus years ago, right? So there's no real regulation on usage of the new technology, the blockchain technology. There are some business-specific regulations, and Patrick has mentioned the most important one, and the only one that we right now see, it's the International Group of P&I Clubs, because that's one of the most important part for you as NVOCCs, carriers, or users of these services, that your liability is completely covered when, God forbid, something bad happens with the shipment, right? So that's the most important part. The second part is, and I'm sure that Patrick can back me up here, I'm repeating myself, I think for the third time today, we're talking about private documents. So it's an agreement between the users what constitutes a sole original that is driving a specific business, and it has the legal format between the buying and selling contract and execution of the contract.
Thanks, Peter. I'd just like to add something. I know this is not literally in the question, but I'm assuming that it's coming from that direction. So if you were to interpret the question as a framework on electronic documents rather than on blockchain per se, then there is a growing framework that is coming up internationally. The UNCITRAL rules, and there is a growing pressure on governments around the world to adopt and encourage and embrace electronic documents. In India as well, the amendment of the IT Act acknowledges electronic documents. So if I were to interpret this question more on electronic documents and then look at it as within electronic documents, where does blockchain stand? Then what we could safely say is, as both Patrick and Peter told you, that among the conversion of a physical to electronic, blockchain easily has the best security parameters. So would that be correct, Patrick?
Since the end of 90s, there were two, well, actually one model law from UNCITRAL, which was on documents and electronic signatures. I think more or less all the countries in the world adopted principles of these model laws. Now there is actually a new model law from 2017, which is the model law on transfer of electronic records, which is BL is one of them. And as you explained very well, it is actually the electronic document which is transferred by using this technology. This is blockchain technology. So it's, in a sense, maybe the most important concept is the electronic document. What we have to achieve in technology sense is that it's unique and original. Original means that it was not changed, and unique means that it's one and only one, which is a problem within electronic documents. So uniqueness and originality, so these are two concepts that are well preserved by blockchain. Maybe the technology was one of the reasons that the BL in the past was not really introduced in or used in a widespread way, because the technology was not really able to mirror the actual workflow. With blockchain, what we did in CargoX is actually the workflow is totally mirrored, in a sense that you do everything the same. The only thing is that you don't print it out and put it in an envelope and send it to the courier service. So this is the only difference. Everything else is like it is today. So this is, I think, the main thing. And I just had one case just a few days ago. What happened? The address of the issuer was wrong. The expenses by now are so the cargo is waiting in the port there. So we have their net expenses, which is about 5,000 euros at the time being. There is at least 1,500 euros of expenses of post of the new BL, which has not arrived yet. So my estimation is just one small mistake on the paper bill of lading, which cannot be corrected, which is corrected for the electronic bill of lading in sense of 20 minutes, you know, in time of 20 minutes. It costed this company by now at least 6,000, 5,000 euros, and it will be up to 10,000 if you ask me. So this is just because the workflow is so slow with the paper documents. This is actually when I saw that and I was explaining it, that people said, okay, if you would use this technology, and they really said, okay, please don't even tell us that, because it's so well working, and it could be the mistake was from the issuer, and it could be just repaired in sense of few minutes. When you have send the paper document, oh, it's another story.
Thanks, Patrick. You're going to love the next question then. The next
Mira, I can just add one thing, right? And yesterday I had an interesting panel as well in the States. It was a strong group of partners in the supply chain, and I remember one very strong statement from one of the highly positioned people in the States in the supply chain, saying, "It's good that we have regulators addressing digitization, but we in business cannot wait for it. We need, as business, to push through the regulators to come, to the solutions in terms of setting some legal grounds if they are needed faster, right? And they are just pushing through the adoption of digital documents in the supply chain, and they say the regulators will need to follow us. We will not just wait for years that are some legal forms created by the regulators. We will just push through. So that's just the comment I had.
Right, you're right. Thanks, Peter. So the next question says, in India, and this is a statement which we need to validate. In India, all documents will need to be digitized before we can onboard onto blockchain fully. How will we manage to ensure that they are authentic? Shipping bills, for example, have no digital stamps, etc. So the first part, if with your permission, I would like to answer. So shipping bills, so if we were to break up the documents, trade documents, by those which are regulatory and governmental in nature, and those, as Peter's been using the word, are private contracts in nature, then we can get to a timeline. So what can be digitized today and without waiting are all documents which are under the realm of contract law and private in nature. So shipping bills doesn't quite fit that. The shipping bill is issued by the governmental customs agency. So today, and this is me as a professional, today, this is not what we are looking for bringing onto the platform, but we are looking to bring on the platform everything else. So other than the shipping bill and the bill of entry, everything else can start today. However, and I'm sure Peter will or Patrick will tell you that there are countries and customs agencies that are looking to move the other side in. Which one of you would like to take this?
Patrick, can you?
Would you like me to repeat the question, Patrick, or otherwise it's there on your text? All documents will need to be digitized before we can onboard. That's the sentence. How would you ensure it's authentic? And what about documents without digital stamps?
Oh, I'm not, Peter, what do you think about that? So I think that you were talking before about the documents that cannot be in a digital form right now. What do you have in your mind? Can you help me with that? Because in Europe, I don't think that there are any documents that cannot be in a digital form.
Are you talking to me, Patrick?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. So what I meant was, there was a mention of shipping bill. So the shipping bill in India is processed on the customs platform called IceGate.
Okay, I don't know this document. This is the problem. We the shipping bill in I don't know how it works.
Okay, so the two primary, I think internationally it's the same. The shipping bill is the first document that an exporter files to declare to the country that he plans to export so and so cargo, and bases the let export order, which the customs then ensures that this cargo is exportable and the certificate of origin is fine, and whether duties are leviable or not, etc. That's the document that enables an export general manifest to be filed and authorizes the shipping line and the carrier to accept that cargo. So it's the customs enforcement document that governs the export leg of the cargo. On the import side, the equivalent is a bill of entry. I don't think it's that different. Maybe the nomenclature is different where you are.
Yeah, the names are different. Yeah. Okay. So what is hard for us to comment is how it will work in India in sense of business to authority, or business to how it will work with these documents that are connected to your customs. It's if I understand well, the decision of your country is to go digital. So this is actually the question for the customs. It's not the question that CargoX can answer. So they should be prepared as soon as it is possible. On the other hand, the only thing that at the time being is important for the shipping line in connection to BL and other documents is that we can make any documents in an electronic form. It is up to them if they are willing to accept all these documents in electronic form. So it's not the question of our company if we can do it. We can do it. It's up to them if they decide that they are accepting all these documents. Yeah. One case is Brazil. At least when I was looking at the Brazil a few months ago, this is constantly changing. So if I will say something that is not right anymore, don't take me for the word. But the situation there was that they were able to use digital BLs within Brazil, but not for the shipping lines that are coming outside from Brazil into the Brazil, because their BL system was some kind connected to tax system and so on. So these are all the decisions of the state and the authorities and customs in your case.
And Mira, if I may add here, I don't necessarily agree that all documents in the shipping industry, from the customs to the regulators, needs to be completely digital before to start your process going digital. Right? I don't think that the document you're mentioning you are sending overseas by a courier post. Right? This is your local document that has some bearings with the customs, maybe the tax authorities. But your bill of lading, your cargo invoice, your packing list, your warranty letter, your letter of credit, which actually goes overseas and bears significant courier cost. So you can start digitizing the workflow of those documents while you're still addressing them with the authorities. When can you also go digital with the local specific documents? So that should, I think, should not prohibit you to start working on digitization of your work processes. At least focus on the ones that can be digitized fast. You have the tool to do that. We showed you, and most likely that's the documents that are also bearing a lot of paper administration. They are time consuming, and they also bear a lot of costs sending them overseas by courier service.
Thanks, Peter. I'll just add 10 seconds more of response from the India perspective. So Sushmita, that was your question as well. So let me respond to you directly. Let me tell you the good things about India. So in India, Indian Customs does not insist on an original paper bill of lading for clearance. So we're actually ahead of some nations around the world. So a copy that is printed from a digital platform can be submitted, or even a digital can be submitted. Also, as you know, that Indian Customs has recently been doing a lot of initiatives of their own on the digitization, in the realm of digitization. They are looking at QR codes on all documents, and they are also looking at wholly digital documents. They're not there yet, but the QR codes have been declared. So I don't think it's very long before the two shall meet. Besides, on the PCS perspective, if you're talking as a person who has to receive a document, already the electronic version of the shipping bill is received from port terminal concept via the PCS. And so these two shall meet pretty soon. But other than that, I agree with what Peter and Patrick had to say. I think from our perspective and from what we are pitching to you today, it's all the documents that fall under the realm of private contract that can most easily get on this bandwagon and save some cost and money. So I'll go to the next question. This is for you, Patrick. It says, are these digital documents recognized by insurance companies? And who does one approach in the event of a dispute?
Yeah, as I said before, there is international group of P&I approval. This is important for any kind of damages to the cargo. And if you don't have, if the system does not have this approval, then the P&I club will not pay the insurance fee. Insurance, sorry. And you have also with the charter parties, you have I think Bingo has prepared this clause now. It's quite some time ago, also saying the clause in the charter parties that if the electronic system for transfer of bill of lading, for issuing and transfer of bill of lading has been issued, it has to have this P&I approval, and then it is safe in a sense that you will get your insurance. The only insurance companies for the liability are P&I clubs. There are no other insurance companies. So in few words, this is it. And the international group of P&I clubs is covering something like 95% of P&I clubs of the world.
Sanjam, we've completed with the questions here. Would you have any questions? Why don't you address the last one or two, and then we can close the session. Oh, there is a question that's just come in. Janvi says, what is expected cost per transaction? Janvi, I did explain it. I'm not sure if it was audible, so I'm also going to write it here. So it's $15 this bill of lading, and other documents. But do reach out to me separately, Janvi. I'll be glad to tell you more.
Yeah, and as it was, Mira, as it was your proposal from the industry, we have finished the system where issuer is one that is paying, or he chooses that the one that is receiving the document is paying. So this is now enacted, and this is actually because also in practice many times the shippers are issuing the bills of lading because the shipping lines are giving them this job. Yeah.
Thanks, Patrick. So basically, the choice is there, Janvi. Either the exporter can bear this, or the carrier or NBFCC can bear this. The platform supports both models. Sanjam, could you quickly ask a couple of questions, please? And then we'll close. We're running behind time. Sorry to speed you up.
No worries. One question actually I had, Mira, initially, but I think I'm a little clear now, but I'll just to clarify ask you. So all of the players have to be registered on the platform? Is there a particular format that everybody has to do to register? Even if it's a one-time usage, say by different exporters, will they have to go online and register? How long does that take?
Yaka, could you take this, please?
Everybody needs to be on the CargoX platform in order to exchange documents. Registration is free of charge. It takes 3 to 5 minutes to complete the registration process, and that's it. And then each company can have unlimited number of users, so you can add different users, as Peter explained in the demo. And once you want to transfer a document to a company that is not yet on the CargoX platform, all you need to do is enter their email address, and the system will automatically send them an invitation email with step-by-step guide how they can register. And with that, I would invite everybody interested to do register and try it for yourself, right? It's the best way to try it out is, you know, to see how it works is to try it out yourself. So welcome to visit cargox.digital, and the system will guide you through the registration process.
Ruchika, could you turn on your video for the last bit? Thank you, Yaka, for bringing us to that summing up. Sanjam, I want to introduce you to the team that will handhold. That's Yaka himself right there on the screen, and me, and Ruchika. There she is. Ruchika is upset with me for forcing her to turn on the video. I can see that in a way. No, but they need to see you. So the three of us are available at any time. You could reach out to us on email or on the phone, and we will handhold you. We will not only handhold you, we'll handhold all the other players in the trial. So let me tell you how the successful trials have been done. So what happens is either any one party along the chain decides, let's try this, and then they approach us, and then they help introduce us to the others on a simple email. And from there, Yaka, Ruchika, and myself will help you and answer questions, even provide templates. Yaka has some really good templates that in a very simple language explain the process and the flow. And from there, we could do it two ways. We could either dive straight into a live shipment, or we could simulate your previous shipment. So any already closed bill of lading can be simulated so that the parties realize how, when, and where they need to work, and that it's immutable, irreversible. Once they're comfortable, we can move seamlessly into a live. Right now, we have two banks, IndusInd and ICICI, who say, go ahead and show us or bring to us test cases that we can move on trial. So for any of your shippers, if they work with these two banks, we'd be very pleased. I'd also texted over there that there's a fintech platform called Contour. You could check and approach. There are a lot of banks there, including Citibank, BNP Paribas, etc. So also, if your shippers, exporters, importers work with those banks, you could approach us and say, why not do a trial through one of them? Someone just texted saying, send us contacts. Yes, of course, contacts are with the Vista group. You're here as a Vista guest, so please do get our contacts from Vista. Sanjam, anything else, or should we close?
Yeah, I just wanted to close saying that I'm really excited, and I have a shipment on hand, and I am going to be writing to you, Meera, and looping in the concerned parties, because I really want to go ahead and, you know, do a trial right away. I think this is hugely exciting. So you'll be hearing from me very soon.
Thank you so much, Sanjam. You made everything worthwhile with that.
Thank you, Meera, and thank you to everybody for arranging this. On behalf of Vista, we would like to thank you for your time and for making this presentation for all of us. We really appreciate this, and we would request that since some people missed out parts of the presentation, if you could, you know, email the video to all the registered participants, and we will keep forwarding the request that we receive.
Thank you very much. And to Vista, my humble apologies. To tell you the truth, we have been doing this on Zoom in the past, and recently there's been an anti-Zoom tirade, and we sort of upgraded to Cisco, and we thought that will deliver a far more professional experience to you. Learning for us that bandwidth is an issue. Maybe Cisco consumes more, I'm not sure. But my apologies, really sorry to those people who kept trying. We'll definitely make sure, Sanjam, that we send this recording on to them and to you.
Thank you, Meera, and thank you to Team Portal. Thank you so much, CargoX.